Look at this biplane cruising over the Rockies. By the 1920s, the frontier was closed, and industrial modernization had swept across the American West. When John Steuben, known to everyone as Uncle Jackie, died in Pueblo in 1927 at the age of 92, he had lived through the entire span of that transformation. He was a man of the old frontier who never had a day of formal schooling and signed every legal document of his long life with a simple X. When the Pikes Peak Gold Rush kicked off in 1859, the journey west was far from the romanticized adventure often portrayed today. It was a grueling, dangerous slog across an unforgiving landscape. In this photograph, you can see the kind of heavy, plodding, ox-drawn wagons Jackie used. After casting his very first vote for Abraham Lincoln in St. Louis, he joined a freight expedition out of Leavenworth, Kansas, and pointed his team west. The plains were a powder keg. White settlers were crossing in massive numbers, slaughtering the buffalo herds and leaving the bodies to rot. For the native tribes, this was the destruction of their primary food and clothing source, and it forced travelers like Jackie to maintain constant, fearful vigilance. The stories Jackie told afterwards suggest that once you crossed into the Arkansas Valley, survival depended on much more than just keeping the oxen moving. Jackie spent his days in total isolation, slowly guiding a massive oxen team up the deep Riot Trail along the north side of the Arkansas River. One afternoon, a young Native American boy on horseback rode up beside the wagon. He carried a sharp spear made from a yucca plant, and he started poking Jackie's oxen with it. Jackie shouted at him to stop, but the boy ignored the warnings. He kept circling the wagon, yelling in defiance, and driving the spear into the heavy animals again and again. Jackie finally lost his temper. He grabbed his long leather bullwhip, swung it over his head, and wrapped it directly around the boy's neck, violently ripping him away from the wagon. The boy eventually untangled himself and rode away. But out in the lawless vacuum of the plains, a split-second act of violence to protect your livelihood carried a long-term cost. Jackie had just made a lifelong enemy. You couldn't rely on just one skill to stay alive out there. Over the years, Jackie constantly pivoted his trade. He scouted alongside Kit Carson, hauled heavy timber, and drove government cattle herds down into New Mexico. He also secured a profitable contract selling hay to the military. Here you can see the kind of Civil War-era troop encampments he supplied, like the 400 soldiers stationed at nearby Fort Reynolds. Human enemies were only half the threat. Returning from a trip with a bag of gold dust, Jackie tried to cross the Arkansas River while it was running high and fast. He barely escaped with his life, losing his horse, his supplies, and all of his gold to the churning water. Death was always lingering just out of sight. Once, a small wagon train spent a peaceful night camped safely at Jackie's place. The very next morning, just a few miles down the road, the entire party was ambushed by native braves. The wagons were burned and the men were killed.
There was zero margin for error. A single miscalculation regarding the weather, the depth of a river crossing, or the mood of the local tribes meant immediate death. That reality caught up with Jackie years after the incident on the trail. He was out riding alone, checking on some cattle, when a dozen young native braves suddenly rode out of the hills and surrounded him. The leader of the group rode up and grabbed Jackie's bridle. Looking closely, Jackie recognized him. It was the same boy he had whipped years earlier. He was a young brave now, and he had come to take Jackie's scalp. Jackie instantly drew his six-shooters and ordered them to back off, but the braves held their ground. Jackie was completely outnumbered and outgunned, and a shootout would only end one way. Riding with the braves was a translator, a man the settlers called John Smith. Recognizing the standoff was seconds away from a massacre, Smith stepped in and initiated a frantic negotiation. Smith managed to find a price for Jackie's life. Jackie handed over his valuable, silver-mounted bridle in a direct exchange for the cheap scrap of rope hanging around the braves' pony. The braves took the bridle and rode away. Surviving the frontier required being ready to fight, but it also required knowing exactly when to swallow your pride and make a desperate split-second trade.
As Jackie grew older, his days of wild exploration gave way to permanent settlement. In 1884, he purchased a heavy log cabin originally built by an early rancher, Burrell Smith.
Built exactly 1,000 feet off a branch of the Santa Fe Trail, from Bent's Fort to Pueblo, the cabin avoided heavy traffic while maintaining a reliable water supply. Peeling back the walls reveals its defensive design: massive cottonwood logs and adobe mud chinking to withstand blizzards and attacks. The cabin quickly became a vital hub of commerce.
It served as a stage stop, a regional mail drop, and a secure haven where everyone from local cattle traders to General Ulysses S. Grant could spend the night. Buildings like this one anchored the expanding nation. They took a dangerous, isolated environment and planted a fixed point of safety right in the middle of it. Eventually, the heavy traffic of the frontier dried up. As you can see in this photograph, the deep wagon ruts of the Santa Fe Trail slowly faded into the dirt, replaced by cultivated fields, irrigation ditches, and railroads. Jackie's life mirrored that change. The man who spent his 20s scouting and fighting off ambushes spent his later years tending a peaceful farm, once even taking in a frightened mail-order bride to help safely deliver her baby. After Jackie passed away, the old stage station began to rot and fall apart. But before it could completely collapse, local historical societies and a Boy Scout troop meticulously dismantled the cottonwood logs, moved them, and fully reconstructed the cabin. These cottonwood logs represent the specific, difficult reality of Jackie's 92 years. They are a physical record of a time when survival meant knowing when to use a bullwhip, when to trade a silver bridle, and how to build a wall thick enough to let the next generation grow in peace.